Hey y'all, I'm Brooke Hoover, a Louisiana native, actor, writer, and comedian. I've lost 100 pounds through diet and exercise, or shall I say, lifestyle changes. My 20-year and counting health journey has taught me that just like taking a diet pill for weight loss, body positivity doesn't magically happen overnight. I'm working on regaining my self-esteem and rekindling my love affair with Cajun and Southern comfort food in a healthier way, all the while juggling eating as clean as I can, reestablishing myself in the entertainment industry, which, as we know, is historically fat-phobic, all the while showing my inner fat girl some love. That's fat with a PH. Pretty hot and tempting. Let me tell y'all a tale or two. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to Who's Dat Fat Girl today. Like I always say when we have a guest, we have a special guest because all of our guests are special. And today we have Megan, who is a Partake foodie. Did I get that right, Megan?
Yeah, you got it right.
Megan Gaul, right?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
like you have the gall. Megan, she
Have the
is an
goal.
educator. You're now a coach, and you're from Staten Island, which I'm doing like I do the raise the roof because I live in Jersey City, so we're just like a roof raise away from each other, the Bayonne
It's
Bridge
so
away from each other.
close.
We're,
Oh, I
we're
love it.
like a stone's throw away. And Megan, like myself, we have both lost 100 pounds. We will be talking all about that weight loss versus health journey. So Megan began her health journey and lost 100 pounds, and she has kept that weight off. And we will learn some more because I'm reading from Megan's bio, but I would rather Megan introduce herself and talk about what you do, how you help people. And I have a ton of questions for you. So Megan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brooke. So as you said, my name's Megan. I recently came in 2021, started to become a health coach for folks who wanted to make big change in their health routine for weight loss or for their, for other kind of health goals. But what really brought me there was, like you had said, my own kind of personal health transformation. It came on kind of slowly. It came on not specifically for weight loss. I really aimed to change my relationship with food first. And the results of 100 pounds lost and maintaining that weight loss, it was really something that taught me that I was capable of something more, especially in my career, than I had really thought. So like you said in my bio, I started off going towards teaching. I worked in a tutoring center. I worked more for a nonprofit in education, worked with data, but this felt like something I was really passionate about because it made a big difference in my life. So it helped me find something in my career that I was really passionate about.
Now, Megan, I personally became or started like as soon as like kids, like my baby fat became like preteen fat. So I was kind of overweight ever since I was about like 10, 11, 12 years old. How about you? Like, do you feel like when did doctors start saying, oh,
Mhm.
you're overweight?
So I think as a kid, a doctor wouldn't have told me I was overweight. I think I always felt bigger than other kids, but that's really common for girls. I think we all
Yeah.
kind of feel if we're taller or if we are slightly broader, we feel
Hmm.
fatter. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I would say I was overweight probably starting in late high school and college. I remember being 5'4", 180 or 185
Hmm.
in my college, probably sophomore year. And I believe that would be in the overweight category for, the BMI, which a lot of us don't rely on because it's not helpful
Right.
in many of our goals. But that really prompted me to set a goal at that time, which was the first time I'd really looked at my weight in any kind of studied or project-minded way. Before that, it was really just kind of overall, I didn't feel super beautiful or super confident in how I looked.
Right, and what was your relationship with food like as a child? I mean, obviously, you were at a quote unquote "normal weight" when you were a child. What was your relationship like, and maybe how did that change, or do you think that the weight happened in relationship to food? Like, how did that kinda start and change and be
Morph over
malleable?
time. Yeah.
Say it again?
And it kind of morphed over time, like for all of
Mhm.
us, right?
Yeah.
I really think that when I was a kid, the roots were there. I don't think because you're in a household with parents who, for my particular situation, my parents always had like 3 square meals for us, and then a snack in between. It was very regimented. We didn't really
Mhm.
have like the clear freedom to go into the cupboard ourselves to get food. So while that can be really good because it's a very strong structure, we had really healthy food. I think I also had a bit of scarcity mindset, and as a kid, I felt like if I was seen with food in between meals, I would get some kind of comment or some kind of like, "We're going to eat in a few hours, put that away." So I think that created a bit of a when the fun food is around, it became really highlighted for me. So when I had more freedom later in high school, I had my own spending money. Later in college, I was, the buffet was always there. There was always, a convenience store with a ton of snacks in it. That just became such a fun way to kind of rebel. Like
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
just, and I really loved defining myself as you could see, a foodie. Like I really love being like, I love good taste. I love eating a ton to keep up with the boys. Like I can eat a whole calzone. Like
Uh,
that was kind of how I saw myself, just like a fun, person who loves super delicious food. So I think that morphed into slowly over time, me kind of using that as an excuse for fun or like as my main source of fun, which is a
yeah.
slippery slope to becoming um, dependent on that mechanism, and then also becoming overweight and not really setting yourself for great health.
Yeah. And that's so, that's so relatable because when you were saying that, I completely relate that scarcity mindset, be it like food or a lot of like, gurus talk about it with money, like whatever is rooted in childhood. So I think this is like an important subject and to realize that there will be more and to like tell your mind, like you will eat again, it will be okay. But I have driven that train for a while, and a lot of it is because, like, having PCOS, I'm like, "Oh, but if I don't eat, I'm gonna get hangry." So I'm, like, always having the fear of being hangry or,
Yes.
like, growing up in a household that didn't have much, like, junk food at all. So
Yeah.
very similar to you. That's really funny that we grew up in a very similar household.
Now, did you guys go out to eat a lot, or was that pretty rare?
It's funny. It was rare growing up because, like, my family were from Louisiana, so we had, like, a ton of great cooks, like, probably like you, Staten Island, like, y'all have
Yeah.
great food there too. So the
Mhm.
family members were all great cooks, but when I got older, eating out became, like, the thing to do. Sorry, I just hit the microphone. But, like,
Yeah.
yeah, so eating out was the thing to do, like, the way in which we socialized, which,
That is
like
100%. Yeah, that's how I felt too. I felt like we only really went out to eat when we were on vacation, which was like once or twice a year. We were on a road trip and we would go to the
uh
diners on the road near the Tally
yeah,
Hotel, wherever we were staying. Or if it was a very special occasion. So it felt so rare that when I was let loose as a young adult, I feel like it was just, it was entertainment. It was like, I'm going to get
yes.
the biggest, most hyper palatable, creamiest pasta, the most like delicious fried chicken, I don't whatever it was. But that's how it felt like I think the scarcity again, like I don't know when I'm gonna get this again. So why not go all out and really enjoy the whole shebang?
Yeah, heck yeah. And so what was that moment for you that made you say, "I wanna start eating healthier?" Like, was it something health-wise, like at your doctors, did they talk about numbers, or was it I know people don't like talking about this, but it is true, especially, like, for people kind of like our kind of like the larger age range. The weight can be an initial motivator. For me, it wasn't what helped me ever keep it off, but what was, like, that kind of, like, catalyst moment for you?
So I think I had two because I had one period in which I lost about 40 or 50 pounds in
Mhm.
college. That did come slowly back on,
Yeah,
especially as
yeah.
I leaned into emotional eating. That was when I really learned emotional eating.
Mhm.
It really came to a head after I had lost that 40, 50 pounds in college. And then the second time, there was, I think, a different motivator, which I think helped me become maintenance minded the second time, whereas the
Mhm.
first time I was not maintenance minded.
Yeah.
So the first time I would say it was pretty insecurity driven. It was very much like I saw a photo of myself. I didn't feel like myself. I said, that person looks heavy. That person looks, it was all the associations that I had growing
Mhm.
up in a society where, you don't ever see fat women as actresses. You don't ever
Right.
see fat women as competent, professionals in
Right.
movies or
Right.
TV. They're always a joke that no one
Right.
takes seriously.
Yep.
So that's what I just felt about myself, and it just played into so much insecurity that I already had. I think
Mhm.
that was a main motivator, looking back. So that first time, I did lose successfully, probably over the course of 5 or 6 months, which is fairly fast.
Yeah.
But I didn't keep it off, and I think a lot of that is to do with one, to lose that fast, I was hitting low calories. So I was in
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
restricty kind of, I would have told you at the time, oh, I'm fine. I'm doing it healthily. But I think it was pretty clear because after that is when I really started to see binging in the evening, at the
Ah,
very end of that period. So that was, once I kind of took the reins off, the binging decreased, but the emotional, I still hadn't learned the skill to manage my stress, which was out of control.
yeah.
so so that was not great. But I would say my catalyst the second time was very much having experienced a healthy weight and then having put on enough weight in order to become, I believe I was in the obese category. I was 235 at 5'4".
Uh-huh.
Um, so I had put on that weight by one, never really learning how to cook for myself in any routine way, and
Right.
two, using takeout and restaurant food and fast food as just my one source of relaxation and fun for the day. That was just,
Yeah.
so that's how I got there, I think. And I was in a place where I was in a relationship that I wasn't thrilled with, and I was saying no to hanging out with friends out of
Mm.
exhaustion and I think insecurity as well because I was heavier than I'd ever been. So my goal was really not to lose weight in that moment when that catalyst happened. It was, I was reaching out for help because I was seeing this weird pattern with eating this way, feeling guilty, continuing
Mm.
to eat that way, continuing to feel guilty. And I just felt like it was getting to be a shorter and shorter cycle. And it felt bad. So
Mhm.
that's what caused me to look at it more as a project that maybe could, someone else could shed a light on my situation and kind of see what is the problem here? What am I doing that could be done better?
So, did someone shed a light on that for you? Did you get somebody to help you? Did you kind of start doing it yourself? I mean, I do wanna talk more about also how the anxiety and guilt played into
Mm.
that. Like, how did you then do it?
I emailed a cognitive behavioral therapist who had
Uh-huh.
disordered eating on one of her bullet points.
Yeah.
So it seemed like she had worked with client, and she really had. She had worked with many clients like that. So my goal in reaching out to someone who is a therapist, I had never had therapy before, but my goal was to eat without guilt, to just to find a way to like do this normal part of life
Mhm.
in a way that didn't make me feel awful about myself, because it really wasn't a great cycle. So she helped me in many ways. I worked with her for a long time and still do. Um, so one of the things that we did later was kind of dig into those coping mechanisms for stress that I hadn't learned yet,
Mhm.
and learn some really helpful skills in managing stress. But I think the first things we did were related to weight loss, not on purpose, but I think she knew that that
Right.
was something that, uh, there was something about the way I was eating that I wanted to change. So she prompted me first with, like, do you think you could drink an extra glass of water every day this week?
Mhm.
Um, and that was a very first kind of action that I took that made me feel okay, I can change something about my day. That wasn't
Mhm.
too hard. I don't have to become a different person in order to do that. So, all right, I did it. I'm someone who can drink water every day for my health. It
Yeah.
seems really simple, but I had never done anything on purpose for my health at all, ever.
Wow, yeah.
At the age of
That's
28.
powerful.
Yeah, it wasn't I didn't define myself as someone who cared about her health. Like,
Ah,
I
mhm.
saw people, girls who went to the gym and wore leggings and, like,
Cute little
um,
outfits that match and have no sweat on them, and
yes, and I was like, "That's not me, I don't care about that," and I really define myself as opposite to that. But
Uh-huh.
it wasn't necessary. I didn't have to define myself that way. I just
Right,
was stuck in that thought, and it
right.
made that very simple action of starting to move for my health, it made it feel easier when I understood that there were little things I could change that didn't have to mean I was overhauling my entire life.
Right, because then when it feels like you're overhauling your entire life all at once, it feels very overwhelming, you
Yeah,
know? And
that's
it's like
what
then you can't do it, and then you feel like you're instantly failing because nobody can do everything at once.
yeah, I think that's why I it took me so long to start emailing people or to start reaching out to someone
Yeah,
because it felt like, well, I haven't been able to change anything. I'm just kind of like reacting to life. I'm just,
yeah,
I got this degree. I moved toward this teaching career. Like I'm just going through the motions each next step. I don't feel passionate about anything. Like I'm kind of, I'm not thinking about how do I want to put it? I'm never thinking proactively about
right.
how I feel. So everything feels like it's just done to me. That's how I felt leading up to that.
Yeah,
So what she did by asking me if I could drink water was kind of give me a taste of like, oh, you can be proactive about something regarding your health and it can
uh-huh,
feel really nice. And that really made her next suggestion of like, do you think you could start a food journal or
uh-huh,
get a food scale? Like, what do you think you're capable of this week? And I said, of
uh-huh.
course. And then my perfectionist tendencies came out. And then I dove
Yeah,
into food journaling, understanding calories, understanding maintenance versus weight loss. I just dove into that. And I think my nerdiness really helped in that area. With the mechanisms of weight loss, anyway, it really helped because I was like, oh, I kind of understand a good chunk of this. And I think I can do it in a way that makes me feel fine about the day. So let me try.
yeah. Now, can I ask you, because you say your perfectionistic tendencies, and y'all, to our listener friends, Megan sent like this awesome one sheet. Like everything was so well organized. I was like, oh my gosh, is
Oh
this
no.
person a Virgo? Is this person my best self? Like this is Brooke on like a very, very excellent day. Are you a Virgo?
I am not. I'm an Aquarius. What does that
Aquarius. I'm a
mean?
Leo. And so, what's your exact
Oh,
birthday? January.
February 14th
February.
in yeah.
Celebrate your Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes, I am.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh! So I'm a Leo, so I'm on the other side from you. I was wondering because Virgos, my mom's a Virgo, they can be so perfectionistic. But
That's what I've heard, yes.
I guess, so can fellow, like, Aquarians as
Yes,
well.
I
But
guess we can.
I like that, and I like that you're like, "I'm gonna work with what I have and make it," and, not to keep using the word work, but I'm gonna make it work for me. And,
Yeah.
that's pretty, like, you realized early on because 'cause you're young and you were young, like, and I'm saying young, like, I'm meaning, like, you were maybe, like, in your, like, 20s, early 30s when you figured this out, like, I'm in a
Mhm.
rut of my life already. I'm being reactive, not proactive, and a lot of people don't realize that till they're 40, 50, and or ever if they do, and they're like, "Oh, life has passed." So,
Mhm.
that's great that you figured this out, I think, early on, but Megan, like, what were some habits? Like, you were talking a little bit about, some of the habits. Talk some more about some of the biggest habits that really made a difference, and some habits that they tell us to do that really don't mean a difference at all. That are just
Yes.
fodder.
Oh, I love this. For me personally, drinking water and like enough water for the day, so more than what I was doing before, which is nothing, was very
Right.
helpful. And and that's just because I had never experienced life as a hydrated adult.
Ah, and I'm drinking water all the time because 'cause I'm psychotic about it,
Yeah,
but yeah,
me
but go ahead.
too.
Fuck yay, cheers.
Yay.
Oh, nice jar.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that really helped because in my experience, it makes the day feel more in your control. You just have less, like you can
Mhm.
think clearer. You're just a little more energetic. Things are moving through your body a little
Yeah,
easier, digestive wise. So for me, that was really important. And I think for the first most important skill and habit that I learned was food journaling.
uh-huh,
Um, and I think it's because, and I've seen this a lot in looking at the National Weight Loss Registry, the folks who keep it off for 5 years, 10 years, many of them either they have one or two things. Either they have a very simple set of rotated meals that they never really deviate from,
yeah,
or they have a very solid food journaling or some kind of food monitoring habit that keeps them overall in their weight range over time. So
uh-huh,
I think my theory is that it's not just my theory, other people as well, but food journaling creates for me this daily ritual of okay, I've thought through proactively how I need to nourish myself today or how I can nourish myself in a reasonable way today. It doesn't have to look perfect every day. It certainly does not for me. Some days have a lot more nutrients than others. Some days have
mhm,
a lot more indulgence than others.
mhm,
But I think getting the plan down on paper in the morning and
mhm,
then looking back in the evening and kind of just jotting down what stuck to the plan and what didn't, it's so powerful to have that habit because so many of us, and especially I don't know, so many of us are very reactive when it comes to our meals. We're either workaholics or we kind of save up all day for a huge meal at the end of the day.
mhm,
That was big for me. And I think a lot of people just kind of go through their day and forget to eat and then really have to compensate in the evening for not being
mhm.
proactive in the morning.
Yep,
And it just feels so different when I had 3 square meals and a snack and a dessert that were all gonna get me to the next meal comfortably. It just
mhm,
felt really different, than it used to. And it's really hard to pursue weight loss or any health goal that you're trying to do, but, it's hard to pursue weight loss when you're I don't know, when you're in that kind of, like, up and down, super starving, super stuffed. You don't know
yeah.
when the food is gonna happen. It's very hard to make reasonable adjustments in your portions downwards when you don't know what's coming and you have huge portions versus skipped meals. It's really difficult.
Yeah, and you know what I love? And I wanna point out to people when Megan said about when Megan started her food, journaling every morning and it just in general, you use the word nourish. Like, how can I nourish myself? Instead of how can
Mhm.
I beat myself up today by being super restrictive? I'm food journaling and I'm hating myself and I'm hating life and I'm food journaling because sometimes food journaling can have that energy if you're approaching it from that way. But how can I nourish myself is a much better proactive way to put it. You know, I think I'm one of those people who eats very, very similar foods every day and I don't really deviate. But when I'm on set more, I do use an app called Lose It
Mhm.
in order to kind of like food journal and just to kind of keep on track because I do have that scarcity or that like kid in a playground type of mentality where I will go to town on the chocolate, even if
Mhm.
it's, you know, healthy chocolate. Like you can only eat so many like no sugar added unreal little coconut bar
Well, those are
chocolate
good.
things. Those are great, but I
Yeah.
can eat like 30 of them. So they'll also make you like poo a lot if you eat too many of that kind of stuff, right? But so I just want people to really understand that like
listen to the words that Megan is using, like nourish. I know that I sound like a crazy focus group person, and y'all, like, I do a lot of focus groups as like my side hustle as an actor. People who need side money should look into that, focus groups. But anyways, nourish is a really good way to put it, because back in the day, like, our parents probably did food journaling, or they didn't maybe use the word food journaling, but they kept track of, they counted their calories, or
The
they did their
points, the
points. They did
calories,
their
yeah.
points. And feels more of a way to beat up, like,
Yes, the
and
judgment. Mhm,
judgment. And
mhm.
Megan had no judgment in what, in my humble opinion, and what I just processed what she said. So I just had to put that out there.
Thank you for pulling out the word choice, because I really do think that was a key piece of me recovering from the perfectionism of the early years, the early
Yeah.
times,
Mhm.
and because I was hearing you can immediately get sucked down a rabbit hole of restriction and cut this out, have this dietary supplement. Like, you can immediately get sucked down in there, and the language is so powerful. That language of like cut back and bad foods and cut this out and no sugar, no
Mhm.
gluten, no guilt, like all that
Right,
stuff.
right. No guilt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you can get sucked down at and it really impacts our feeling of safety around the beautiful variety of foods that is always available to many of us in a Western world. Like, many
Mhm.
of us are close to a place where you can buy your groceries for the week. Many of us are close to many good restaurants.
Mhm.
And good friends who cook nice things for you. There's
Yeah.
a wonderful variety of good foods. And I think when you try to aim for a health journey, any kind of healthy change, you can immediately get sucked down into like, cut this out. This is bad. You should have
Right.
less of this, less of that. But it was very helpful for me to find some great influencers that used very positive language that felt expansive. Like, instead of
Right.
looking at what can't we do, let's look at what can we do. Let's
Yes.
nourish. If this is the amount of food that generally keeps me in this healthy weight range, what is a nice balance for that? Can I make sure I get some good nutrients and make sure the best flavors are in there too? My fun foods, like, put those
Mhm.
in there on purpose. It was really helpful for me to start looking at the language of bad foods and good foods and just eliminating that completely from my thoughts of how I wanted my meals and my diet to look.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really passionate about not cutting a thing out. If there's a food I eat less, it's because I know it either doesn't make me feel great, or I know
Mhm.
that it tends to make me like want a ton of it, and I would prefer to
Right.
not.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about how it makes you feel, or how it makes you how it doesn't make you feel when you don't have it. Like, you might
Yeah.
feel better without having it, and so
Mhm.
you can then eat something else that you also love in place of it, you know?
Yes, yeah, and I think my focus in the beginning on that perfectionist, food journaling, including calories, including trying to hit a calorie goal, I've gotten much more calm and, like, reasonable about it over the years.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it definitely felt, I think it pushed me to become very committed to it, which is great. But there could have been, well, I'm never gonna put Cheetos in here because, I could have 3 bowls of salad for 1 bowl of Cheetos.
Mhm.
But I think on purpose at the beginning, and I'm glad that I did this, on purpose, I said, if I'm not gonna cut out a food from my whole life, I'm not gonna cut it out from this weight loss period. I'm going to put it in here on purpose, and let's see how I can fit it into my week of
Ah.
calories
Yeah.
on purpose. And I'm glad I did that, because it let me see how I could make my healthy lifestyle once I reached my goal weight, like,
Right.
how I could make it actually feel sustainable. I don't have to give up beer if I don't want to. I don't have to give up, whatever, peanut butter and chocolate, which is my favorite.
Oh, me too.
Oh, it's so
That's my
good.
fave.
Yeah. So I don't want to say that, like, oh, I always choose the healthy thing because it always makes me feel better, because at the beginning I really just had to experiment with doing all foods and
Mhm.
really seeing how they made me feel. And that made me naturally choose some things differently later on.
Right.
You know, I didn't stick to any rules because someone else told me to do them. I just kind
Right.
of like kept everything in and decided what I wanted to keep.
Right. Because, and then going back to the way you were raised, and me too, very similarly, the scarcity kind of mindset of like
Mhm.
that we didn't have free reign over the pantry. And it sounds like
Mhm.
our parents, none of our parents kept super unhealthy foods around. So
No.
we know we have that mindset of, oh, like, let me go touch that shiny object. So
Yes.
you didn't want to make that restrictive because then, like, say you lose 50 pounds, you're going to want to go then eat more once you know, and then that
Yeah.
perpetuates that cycle of what then can put the weight back on for people. And yes, I just did what I said I wasn't going to do, which is talk about weight loss, but y'all, it happens and it is a thing. It's a billion-dollar industry. It's there. We're talking about it. But let's bash that industry just for a little bit. So,
Yeah.
Megan, like, what kind of habits do they tell us to do that don't really matter in your opinion? Or what does like the diet industry get wrong about like the calorie cutting and thing, like all kind of things like that?
The biggest annoyance that I have is the thought that calorie counting must happen within the context of you cutting calories. Like,
Uh-huh.
because I think that just like food journaling, like knowing the calorie content of what you're enjoying, especially looking at the whole week or the whole month in its totality, that can be so eye-opening about what you would like to include
Uh-huh.
and what in general what your body's maintenance level looks like.
Mhm.
So when people say like if you're counting calories, you got to just go down to 1200. If you're over 1200, you shouldn't even like you're not even attempting weight loss. So you're
Right.
just
You
off the
suck if
wagon.
you're not at 1,200 calories.
Right.
I would die on just 1,200 calories. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had done it. I did it for a little bit,
Wow.
and I was like, this doesn't feel great."
Right.
And everyone's different. There are some people who do, like,
Who are
exist
fine.
on
Yeah.
that. But it really I think what the habit that people say, which is, like, if you're counting calories, you're really aiming for that low, low amount, that is counterproductive.
Uh-huh.
I think the power of knowing what your body looks like at a maintenance level of calories, what that is so helpful because you can take a break from any like weight loss goal that you have and keep the habit of food journaling and knowing your calories and keeping that mindfulness going while aiming for, I don't know, while aiming for staying at the same weight rather than dropping, dropping, dropping.
Right.
So that is helpful because so few of us experience weight maintenance on purpose
Uh-huh.
with the knowledge of where you are. So it makes maintenance feel like a total black box when you don't understand what your food looks like at maintenance. Does that
Right.
make sense?
This is fascinating because this is kind of what I'm learning right
Mhm,
now. Like what do I eat and where do I need to be like staying to maintain as
mhm,
I'm exercising a lot more, but also I'm 42, almost 43. So people say, "Oh, things change when you get older." I think things also change because I'm exercising more. So I'm trying to figure out that balance to be at maintenance. So I feel like that's really funny, not like funny, haha, funny,
mhm.
strange, not haha, just funny, as in funny that you're talking about that because that's exactly kind of where I am mindset wise right now. That's very appropriate that we have connected. Yeah.
That's yeah, because yeah, I love that you brought that up because I think what it also does is takes away the judgment from the very helpful knowledge of, okay, this amount of food helps me maintain my current weight based
Mhm.
on your activity level, which has changed from where it was before, right?
Mhm.
So it's we I don't know, I've heard people be very hesitant in looking at an indulgent day and understanding what that looks like in terms of calories because as soon as they see something hitting 2000, 2300, 2400, they're like that's I could never, that's awful, that person is gaining weight, they're off the wagon, whereas we know realistically many people maintain on 2400, some people maintain on 3000. But I think also the power of that is there are X amount of days every year where you're going to have a day that's like that. And it's really powerful to know what that looks like in terms of calories, because then you can look at the year in totality and say, well, it makes sense that these days would be that high. Where do I want the other days to end up? There's no guilt involved in those days being that high, because that's a part of my maintenance. That's a part of life. Like,
Right.
it makes sense. Like, I think it gets rid of the judgment of those numbers and puts them more in terms of, let's look at this neutrally and say, if this is part of life, let's look at the rest of the days and see where we want that to be. And it kind of
Right.
gives a better sense of the balance between a normal day where you have control over the health of your meals and some days where you just don't really have a ton of
Right.
control over.
Where you're traveling or you're like, we're going to do a
Yeah.
beer garden day and we want beer garden beer. I'm like, beer garden beer, of course, but we want a hoe garden at a beer garden and we want pretzels and we want some sausage and we're going to go do
Yes.
it because that's life.
I helped
So
a client go to a beer festival like that. It was like a beer tasting 2-day festival. And I'm like, well, let's look at this logically. What do you not want to leave behind? What do you want to make sure you enjoy about
yeah,
this situation and this weekend? You're probably going to have X amount of beer. You're probably going to have a necklace of pretzels, right? Like, what? Let's look at this realistically. We're not going to skip this whole day. We're just going to make it a part of the plan.
right. And I used to do this thing where I would like avoid doing things that were around food.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Brooke, this is crazy. Number one, I'm from South Louisiana. I live in New Jersey, which is like, obviously, Jersey has good food, but we're also, I mean, New York has better bagels. One of my best friends is from Jersey. They're going to kill me. But, you're from an area with great food. You live
Mm-hmm.
in an area with great food. You work in a field where you're given free food catered every day. You can't avoid food. You can't avoid eating out. You have to figure it out. Like
Yes.
so I love that. That sounds like that's how you work with your clients. Let's talk a little bit about how you work with your clients, because I know what Megan is a health coach and it's at partake_foodie. I'll be sharing all this, y'all know, on the descriptions everywhere so y'all can follow Megan. But I want you to discuss how you work with a client, because what we're talking about right now, I'm getting a really good sense. But kind of walk us through how people can access and jump on that Partake Foodie train, and yeah, how you work with people. I'm getting a good sense of it, and I think listeners will too.
Awesome. Yeah. So my main, offering is I do work one-on-one with people in a coaching relationship, folks who
Mhm.
have a weight loss goal, or some people do also have an emotional eating goal or a goal
Ah,
to eat more intentionally. So,
mhm.
and those are the folks who would work with me one-on-one, and all that information I have kind of highlights on my Instagram, where you can apply for a free session to get a sense of how we would work well together. That kind of service is really often it's in 3 or 4 month chunks, and you have a specific goal that you want to hit. You want to see your routine look this way. You want to be seeing yourself intentionally planning your meals and seeing your weight trend downwards over X amount of months. So
Mhm.
those people have a specific goal, and coaching is a great way to stay accountable to that, have
Yeah.
someone else look in on the situation, decide how you're going to track your success, because for some people the outcome is related to, they want to see themselves eating fewer impulsive snacks by the end of the 4 months, or they want to see
Mm.
themselves hitting a certain um, you know I don't really set specific pound goals, but I do really focus on whether the person does want to lose weight for their health. They will say their goal is, I will want to see my weight trending down. Here's how we're going to do it.
Mhm.
And part of that is kind of focusing on the actions that they're going to do daily in service of that. And so we kind of work out, if their goal is seeing their weight trending down, are you willing to do that food journaling and kind of plan ahead on your day so that that creates that weight loss over time? Are you willing to raise your steps? If you are, let's use our 1 week session to kind of understand what your strategy is for doing that. What are the barriers that are going to come up? Like, are you really busy this week? Are you experiencing like a crazy time at work? How can we still hit your goal or move towards your goal even while things are crazy? That's kind of the one-on-one, you know, what you would get through the one-on-one, that level of support.
Mhm.
I also have a meal planning club that's totally free. If you want to just see yourself build that habit of every week sitting down, writing a menu for yourself to get
Mhm.
yourself prepared for a week of meals that feel good to you. We do that every Thursday, and you can join that by going to my Instagram and joining the email list so that you always get the reminders when it's happening, and the replay after it's done.
I love that you do that. That's a really fun, like, and freebie. Like, guys, that's a really good freebie, I think. And I'm
And
not just saying that.
I'm planning my own meals too, so you can see what my household menu is going to look like. It's messy, it's dirty, but that's the whole point of it. We get it down just enough so that you can go to the grocery store and know what's going to happen for the week coming up.
Nice. I love that. And again, y'all, it's at partake_foodie, and that's foodie, foodie IE. Like, I wouldn't spell foodie with a Y, but some folks might, but foodie with the IE. I'll be posting all of that. I love that idea. So it's on Thursday. We're both in Eastern time. Is it
Yeah.
like Thursday evenings?
It's like Thursday, 3:30 Eastern
Okay,
and
great.
it's only 30 minutes. But you can get on there and you can either ask your questions live, or if you send me an email beforehand, I will answer your questions during the live as well. And you can watch it later and plan
Awesome.
your meals alongside it.
I love that. So she does a replay, y'all. So this is great stuff.
Yeah.
Please go follow Megan. I'm glad that Megan and I connected. I'm even more glad that you live in Staten Island. Again, I'm in Jersey City. We should
So
like
close.
meet up in person. And I want to say to the people who are not watching the podcast, they're listening to it. I'm an actor, but as we know, like I have cast things before. If I was going to cast or hire somebody as my coach, it would be Megan, because Megan is
Oh,
wearing a brown shirt and has like a brown hat, and she just looks like such a relatable type of coach. Like if I was gonna say put me in coach, I would want it to be to Megan Gaul.
Brooke, that's so
I mean it.
kind, Brooke.
Yeah,
Oh, thank
you look like
you.
a coach. I love it. I'm just like I get obsessed. Like I don't know. I'm like a stage mother, and I know you were like a stage mother for people, for special guests, because you're a
I've
special guest.
only I've only become a hat person in the last, like, 6 months, but I'm loving it. Like, I love becoming a cat person,
I
so this is
love you're
it's new.
totally. I can't believe it because you look like a total cat person always.
Thank you so much. I love
I
it.
want to become a visor person because I started playing tennis again and I need something for the sun. So maybe
I
I
can
will
see
try to
that.
have that confidence because you look like you've always been a cat person.
Thank you. You could do it because to be a visor person, you need that beautiful curly hair. That's
Oh,
what you need.
girl.
So
Well,
you're it.
it will stick out like a big old like plant bush thing, and that will be fine by me. Now, y'all, we're gonna kind of wrap it up with this little thing we do called rapid fire fatness. As we know, that's fat with a PH, pretty hot and tempting, where I ask Megan some stuff that we love to talk about on the podcast at times. So we kind of like riffed on this a little bit, but I want to know, especially because you're from Staten Island already. I'm like, are you Italian? But Megan, what like do you have a favorite childhood memory associated with food, like a positive memory?
I really love we wouldn't go out for ice cream very often, but we would, like, very occasionally, and we have a place called Eggers on Staten Island. They have a few
Eggers?
Eggers,
I'm
yes.
gonna have to go. I've not been.
So good. I used to get this like chocolate ice cream, hot fudge, and Reese's Pieces. And that was so nice because we never went out for dessert. And that was like a rare treat. It was really fun.
Nice. And do you still go to Eggers at times? Do
I
you
live
schedule
near
it
one
in?
now. I probably the last time I went was last year. I should make another trip. I
Well,
should.
it's summertime now. So and
Mhm.
I'm with you. I'm team chocolate peanut butter. I love chocolate and peanut butter.
Oh,
It's
so good.
the best. Now, really quick on chocolate and peanut butter, and then we're gonna get back to the rapid fire fatness because I'm a little all over the place. Have you tried JoJo's? The chocolate. They sell a lot of it at Costco. Specifically the ones that are bigger bars, and they're chocolate JoJo's with the peanut butter inside.
No. Are they good?
They're awesome. I will take a picture and send them to
Mm.
you. It's lower added sugar. It's like 5 ingredients. Do you know the brand JoJo's in general? They
It
don't
sounds
sponsor me at all.
familiar, but the way you're describing it makes me really want it.
I think he would love them. And the man created it helping his mom. Her name, I believe, was JoJo or Josephine. And she, while she was going through her cancer journey, she has since passed away, but it was to help her. So cleaner ingredients. I will be sending you a picture of them, because if you're a chocolate peanut butter person, you will love these.
Thank
But
you.
anyways, this is back to your rapid fire fatness, not just about chocolate peanut butter obsession. So do you have a favorite comfort food? And what is it?
This is a hard question because in part of my vocabulary, I don't go to fun. I don't call it comfort food because
Ah,
I like,
every food should be comforting.
yes, I think all food is comforting. I think I think I to call it fun foods because it's foods I
Fun
want for
food.
fun and not fuel.
Word.
And I have other things for comfort, so like walks and meditation, all that stuff.
Right.
But I would say like a great fun food is a Cinnabon, like a Cinnabon
Yeah, my
jerk.
uncle loves those. Cinnabon.
So good, so delicious. Hmm.
I'm again promoting like small businesses here. We have driven to a place 45 minutes away that we love so much called Mav's Top Buns. They're on Instagram, so I'll send you their info.
Hmm.
Amazing. They're in South Jersey. So like from Staten Island, just go over the Goethals and then head
Oh yeah,
down
and
like
just go down. Yeah.
in like the Homedale kind of area. Megan, their buns are like bigger than our heads. They're
Yes.
freaking awesome. And like a mom and pop business, legit, these people are the bomb. So it's like, again, like when we want a treat food, we want it really to be excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send this to you. I have so many things to send to you because it's fun. See, y'all, we're talking about having fun with food and not beating ourselves up. And Megan, I'm not going to call me out on the whole comfort fun food. Like I like that approach to it. So I will start taking that into consideration as well. Now,
That
what's your
it's all for fun.
and like again, we don't like to be like bad food, healthy food, but do you have a sort
Mhm.
of like health trend food or healthier food that you love? Like I love kale. What's like one of your kind of favorites?
I'm stuck between 2 because I last year I started knowing what overnight oats were and started
Ah,
trying them, and I'm like, "Oh, this is so refreshing, and there's so many ways I can do it." So, I love that, and I was gonna say kale because I'm always shocked at how satisfying that deep leafy green is, especially when it's chopped really s if you don't like it, guys, chop it very small,
yeah.
massage it with a little bit of olive oil or something to make it softer and more tender, and put it with your favorite crunchy vegetables in a really satisfying dressing.
Yeah.
Crunchy things on top, nuts, craisins, whatever you want. But oh, I love a good, like, dark leafy green salad like that.
Yes, me too. I had one earlier. It's like so just like you said, satisfying. There's something about
Yeah.
that crunch. I love some good
Hmm.
kale. And
Yes.
we talked about it a little bit, but like give it to us like kind of like in a like nutshell circular thing. What is
Mhm.
your healthy lifestyle mantra?
Oh, okay. I guess my mantra would be like, be honest with yourself about what's happening now. Get
Uh-huh.
real with where you wanna be, and what are the first changes you want towards that? Move in that direction. It's not
Yeah.
very clean, but get real is the really hard thing. We wanna ignore what's really happening now because we wanna be
Yeah.
somewhere else, but
Y-
first get real with where you are,
That's
then make a
very
reasonable
powerful.
change.
So
That's what I
get
like.
real with where you are now in order to then make the change.
Yes, yes.
I think that's very powerful and, like, you can remember that. You can, like I'm doing, like, a circle because we can put it in the
Mhm.
pocket. So, last question, do you remember was there a moment for you or a series of moments where you found your inner fat girl that's fat with a PH, pretty hot and tempting? And then, like, we mean literally or figuratively.
Oh, this is so difficult. I think I think every time I'm away with friends and I get into that flow of like just being my fun self, I just get re-grounded into like who I am and who the fact that I'm really great and I like all these really great women around me really like me, so I must be almost as great as them. I
Yeah.
think that's when that happens. So most recently, I just went away with our friends to Cape May for a bachelorette party for a whole
Oh,
week.
I love Kate May.
It was lovely, and that whole weekend was like inner fat girl, like, magic for me because it was we just felt I don't know, I just felt great the whole weekend, it was lovely.
That's awesome. I love that. So, y'all, I really want everybody to go follow Megan at partake_foodie. Again, I'll post everything in there. It's been so great talking to you. I'm really glad we connected. I hope we can continue to tell some tales. But Megan, any last parting words that you want to tell our listeners or our viewers, our friends?
I don't know. I'm just excited for you, Brooke, for bringing me on. This was really lovely. I've heard some of your interviews before and it just made me want to reach out to you. So I'm glad to be part of this, this little podcast and this little episode.
Thanks so much, Megan.
Thanks so much for listening, y'all. It is my hope to inspire, uplift, and entertain you with this Who's Dat Fat Girl podcast. So, if you're hungry for more, you can book me to speak or perform my solo show that inspired this podcast, Fat Girl Costumes, written by yours truly and directed by Brian Lady at your virtual or in-person event. Please visit brookehoover.com/fluffybuttproductions or email me at contactbrookhoover@gmail.com for more info. And let's follow each other on Instagram. I'm at Brooke Hoover, and the O's in my name are not the letter O, they're zeros. Not because I want to be a size 0, but because I guess I'm just so clever with my late 90s Yahoo self. And if you like this podcast, which I really hope you do, please give me a 5-star rating and write a review on Apple Podcasts. And most importantly, share this with your friends, family, and other people you may know who are as fat as we are. That's fat with a PH.